The forest was alive with the sounds of nature, the chirping of birds, the rustling of leaves, and the distant call of a wild animal. But amidst the serenity, there was an undercurrent of danger. I could feel it in the air, a tension that made my skin crawl. Little did I know, this day would change my life forever. It all started with a simple hike. I had been planning this trip for weeks, eager to explore the untouched wilderness of location. The forest was known for its dense foliage, towering trees, and diverse wildlife. It was a place where nature reigned supreme, and humans were mere visitors. As I ventured deeper into the forest, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The trees seemed to close in around me, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting eerie shadows on the forest floor. It was beautiful, but also unnerving. I had always been drawn to the wild. There was something about the unpredictability of nature that fascinated me. But on this day, I would come face to face with one of the most dangerous predators in the world, a panther. And not just any panther, but one that was injured, desperate, and unpredictable. This is the story of how I rescued a panther, and how that decision almost cost me my life. It's a story of courage, survival, and the unbreakable bond between humans and nature. So, sit back, and let me take you on this incredible journey. Background story. To truly understand how I ended up in this life-threatening situation, I need to take you back to the beginning. My love for wildlife and adventure didn't happen overnight. It was a passion that had been brewing inside me for as long as I could remember. Growing up, I was always fascinated by animals. I would spend hours watching documentaries about lions, tigers, and other big cats. There was something about their strength, grace, and power that captivated me. I knew from a young age that I wanted to work with animals, to protect them and learn from them. As I got older, I started exploring the wilderness on my own. I would go on hikes, camp in remote areas, and document the wildlife I encountered. It was during one of these trips that I had my first close encounter with a wild animal, a bear. I was terrified, but also exhilarated. It was in that moment that I realized how small and insignificant we are in the grand scheme of nature. Fast forward to the present day, and I've had countless adventures in the wild. But nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to face in the forests of location. The day started like any other. I packed my gear, my camera, a first aid kit, some food, and a few essentials. I wasn't planning on anything extraordinary happening, I just wanted to capture the beauty of the forest. But as I've learned time and time again, nature always has a way of surprising you. As I ventured deeper into the forest, the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves filled the air. It was peaceful, almost therapeutic. But then, I heard something that made my blood run cold, a low, guttural growl. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but the sound grew louder, more menacing. I froze in my tracks, my instincts screaming at me to turn back. Against my better judgment, I decided to investigate. I followed the sound, my camera ready, and that's when I saw it, a panther, lying motionless near a rocky outcrop. Its fur was matted with blood, and its breathing was shallow. It was clear the animal was in distress. The encounter, I stood there, paralyzed by fear and awe. Panthers are majestic creatures, but they're also incredibly dangerous. A wounded panther is even more unpredictable. My mind raced with questions. What had happened to it? Was it attacked by another animal? Or was it injured by a trap set by poachers? I knew I had to be careful. One wrong move could provoke the panther, and I'd be defenseless against its strength and speed. But I also couldn't just walk away. Something inside me, a mix of curiosity and compassion, urged me to help. I slowly inched closer, my camera still recording. The panther's eyes followed my every move, its gaze piercing and intense. I could see the pain in its eyes, but also a flicker of fear. It was as if the animal was silently pleading for help. I knelt down, keeping a safe distance, and spoke softly, trying to calm the panther. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you." I don't know if the panther understood me, but it didn't attack. That gave me a glimmer of hope. As I got closer, I noticed the extent of its injuries. There were deep gashes on its side, likely from a fight with another predator. Its breathing was labored, and it was clear it was in pain. I knew I had to act fast, but I also knew I couldn't do this alone. I reached for my phone, hoping to call for help, but there was no signal. I was deep in the forest, miles away from civilization. It was just me and the panther. The rescue mission. I took a deep breath and assessed the situation. The panther's injuries were severe. It had deep gashes on its side, likely from a fight with another predator. It was losing blood, and time was running out. I had to act fast. I grabbed a nearby stick, not to harm the panther, but to keep it at bay if it decided to attack. I also wrapped my jacket around my arm, hoping it would provide some protection against its claws. Slowly, I moved closer, my heart pounding in my chest. The panther growled, a low, menacing sound that sent shivers down my spine. But I didn't back down. I kept talking to it, my voice calm and steady. "I'm here to help you," I said. "Just stay calm." I reached out, my hand trembling, and gently touched the panther's fur. It flinched but didn't attack. That was my cue. I carefully wrapped my jacket around its body, trying to stabilize its injuries. But then, something went wrong. The panther suddenly lunged at me, its claws slashing through the air. I stumbled back, falling to the ground. The world seemed to slow down as I stared into the panther's eyes, bracing myself for the worst. But instead of attacking, the panther let out a pained whimper and collapsed beside me. I don't know how long I lay there, my heart racing, my body trembling. But I knew I couldn't give up. The panther was still alive, and it needed my help. Summoning every ounce of courage I had, I got back on my feet and continued the rescue. I used my belt to create a makeshift tourniquet, applying pressure to the panther's wounds to stop the bleeding. It wasn't easy, the panther was heavy, and every movement seemed to cause it pain. But I kept going, driven by a determination I didn't even know I had. Finally, after what felt like hours, I managed to stabilize the panther. It was still weak, but it was no longer in immediate danger. I sat beside it, exhausted but relieved. For the first time, I felt a connection with the animal, a bond forged through survival and trust, the turning point. As I sat there, catching my breath, I realized how close I had come to death. The panther could have killed me in an instant, but it didn't. It was as if it understood that I was trying to help, but the danger wasn't over yet. The panther was still injured, and I needed to get it to safety. I knew I couldn't carry it on my own, so I decided to build a makeshift stretcher using branches and vines. It was a slow and painstaking process, but I was determined to save this animal. As I worked, I couldn't help but reflect on the situation. Here I was, a mere human, trying to save a creature that could easily overpower me. It was a humbling experience, a reminder of how fragile life is and how interconnected we are with nature. Finally, after hours of effort, I managed to secure the panther on the stretcher. It was a risky move, but I had no other choice. I began the long and arduous journey back to civilization, dragging the stretcher behind me. The forest seemed to stretch on forever, and every step was a struggle. My arms ached, my legs felt like lead, and my mind was foggy with exhaustion. But I kept going, driven by the thought of saving this magnificent creature. The aftermath, when I finally reached the edge of the forest, I was met with a mix of relief and disbelief. I had done it, I had rescued a panther. But the journey was far from over. I contacted a local wildlife rescue team, and they quickly arrived to take the panther to a rehabilitation center. As I watched them load the animal into their vehicle, I felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. I had risked my life to save this creature, and it had been worth it. Over the next few weeks, I visited the panther at the rehabilitation center. It was amazing to see how much it had improved. The wounds were healing, and the animal was regaining its strength. It was a testament to the resilience of nature and the power of compassion. Eventually, the day came when the panther was ready to be released back into the wild. I was there to witness the moment, and it was one of the most emotional experiences of my life. As the panther disappeared into the forest, I felt a sense of closure. I had done my part, and now it was up to nature to take over. This experience changed me in ways I can't fully explain. It taught me about courage, resilience, and the importance of protecting our planet's wildlife. It also reminded me of the delicate balance between humans and nature, and how we all have a role to play in preserving it. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's this: never underestimate the power of compassion. Whether it's for an animal, a person, or the planet itself, compassion has the power to change lives. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more adventures. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, we're all